Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Dan Lawrence. I'm an assistant professor of writing in the Department of Writing, Language, and Literature at the University of Wisconsin-Superior. And this is Writing 409001, Digital Writing. This is a new course at the University of Wisconsin-Superior that I've personally planned and developed. That's a cat at my door. Okay, we're going to keep plowing forward through this. Anyway, digital writing. What is this? What does this mean? Why are you here? Okay, so we're going to be talking about a rhetorical framework for writing in digital spaces, particularly social media. Why are we going to do this? There's a number of reasons. The first being there are excellent career opportunities in using social media and digital platforms in careers like social media coordinators, social media marketing, digital marketing, and advertising. And in fact, these tools and technologies have incorporated themselves into more traditional writing and marketing roles, such that you almost can't escape them. You gain an incredible competitive edge on the job market when you learn more about these digital tools and technologies. The second thing here, why study this, why do this at all, is the enormous effect and influence that these technologies have over us and have over our societies. Social media is not just for kids anymore, right? We need to subvert this kind of notion that it's a toy or that it's some kind of fluke or a passing fad. More than 50% of the world's population use social media. Facebook has billions of active users who regularly log into the platform and use the platform. Social media is used in all kinds of, for nefarious purposes, for influencing elections, for highly targeted digital advertising, both ethical and unethical. And in fact, now more money is spent globally. The global digital advertising spend, is higher than the global television advertising spend. In other words, companies now spend more money advertising through digital platforms and principally through Google, Facebook, and YouTube, Twitter also to a large extent. They kind of make up the lion's share of all digital advertising spend. We'll talk more about that later. But companies now spend more on digital ads than on television ads. And this just happened. This is a shift that occurred right in 2017, 2018. This huge shift in the way that humans relate to media and the way that companies use media is evidenced by this one fact, right? That digital advertising now accounts for more spend, more dollars are being put into it than television advertising. It's become the dominant advertising platform on the planet. So it's worth paying attention to, right? So that's just a little bit of a overview of why these things are so important. So those are two ideas to keep in mind: is there are excellent career opportunities in digital marketing, digital advertising, social media, what I broadly call digital writing. And two, these what seemed at first like these passing fads, these platforms that were initially developed sort of just for, casually making conversation with people in online spaces like MySpace and early Facebook, they've grown to such an extent that now more than half of the global population uses them, and they account for the majority of advertising spend on the planet. So they're enormously powerful technologies. So what are we going to do in the class then? And maybe I should say, why am I qualified to tell you about any of these things too? My PhD is in rhetoric and technical communication with a specialization in digital media theory. And after I got my PhD from Michigan Technological University, I went into the private sector and I worked for a couple of different companies doing commercial real estate marketing in Portland, Oregon, and then doing managing digital assets and digital strategies for a large healthcare company, multiple hospitals, 12 clinics, hundreds of physicians, all of this, actually designing Facebook advertisements, designing websites, and blogs and all the digital assets for this large company. So I've been behind the scenes and seen how these things work, how to create highly targeted advertisements. And now I'm writing a textbook called Digital Writing. It'll be published this year by Broadview Press, where I present this kind of theory of a rhetorical strategy for writing in digital spaces, which I think is the right way to go about using these platforms ethically, strategically, and thoughtfully, is to do so with a rhetorical framework. Okay, so that's why I'm qualified to do this, right? And for a number of other reasons as well, but that's a good start. What are we going to do in the class then? There's a good balance in this class of what I call theory and praxis, or theory and practice. So we really start out by reading they're difficult texts, they're a little bit challenging, but they're very enlightening. They're very insightful texts. So one, for example, we start out with Martin Heidegger, the German philosopher, his famous essay, The Question Concerning Technology, where he asks this really fundamental question about what is technology and how do humans relate to it. So we start off in this very kind of abstract, zoomed out, but necessary perspective of asking, okay, if we're going to talk about these emergent technologies and these new technologies, let's think about what is a technology in the first place, and what is the human relationship to technology? Is it an extension of ourselves? To what extent do our inventions control us? They have these kind of reciprocal relationships. They're very interesting and important questions, and so on and so on. We read Lev Minovich trying to capture a definition of, okay, so what is computer-mediated communication? What does it mean for media to be new? How is this new or digital media different from old media? All these great theoretical texts that we're going to come across, and students usually really enjoy them. They are difficult, but go slowly through them. Philosophy is not meant to be, you're whipping through it at a lightning pace. You're supposed to sit down and think about it. You turn the pages slowly, line by line, take notes, that sort of thing. And then as we move throughout the semester, we get into more of the praxis or the practice of it. So you'll actually do a rhetorical analysis of a company or organization's Facebook page. You'll write some instructions about how to schedule an advertisement or create an advertisement in a platform of your choosing, such as Facebook or Twitter, so on. And then we cap off with a final exam at the end of the course. It's an open-ended, open book, open notes, reflection on, you'll actually try to, using your knowledge that you've gained throughout the course, create your own definition of, okay, what is social media? We've tried to define technology, we've tried to define media and new media. You've read various critical pieces. Take a stab at this. So that's the fundamental idea of the course, is bringing together both theory and praxis, to figure out what's going on in this enormous new, some oftentimes very confusing social media, digital media landscape. And then how do you use these technologies in an ethical, reasonable way, and also prepare yourself so that you can take advantage of the new types of careers that are emerging in these spaces. Now, real quickly, I'll go through some of the assignments. If you go to the Canvas page, and I hope you'll take a lot of time to read the syllabus very carefully. The syllabus is the golden ticket for any college course. It has the grade breakdown, it has the schedule, it has the meeting time, and everything's in there. But the Canvas page is built out, I think, in a very reasonable, clear way. You'll see the Start Here module. Every week has your objectives and tasks. So, the first week, You'll start out, you'll read the syllabus, you'll read these pages, what's my preferred contact method, how do you find your feedback, you'll read all the major assignment descriptions, you'll take a really short quiz about the syllabus, you can take it multiple times until you get it right, and then you'll do a really quick discussion board post where you introduce yourself. Everything has a rubric, so there's total transparency in the way that I grade. And then every week there's a link to the Zoom meeting. It's actually the same link. It's a recurring meeting. So every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central, we'll meet on Zoom. We'll get together. We'll chat. So that's the idea. Canvas is organized then into weekly modules. You'll move through those modules every week, but you should also kind of look ahead, right? You always want to prepare yourself, make sure you're working on your projects that are coming up, so on and so on. So major assignments, we start out with project 1 is a kind of synthesis and reflection academic paper. You'll write it's a relatively short paper, no more than 6 pages, double spaced, MLA formatting, create a PDF. You're just synthesizing some of these readings we're going to do. Heidegger, Feenberg, Minovich, bringing together, trying to answer this question: what is technology, and in what ways might social media be a technology, or certainly is a technology, but how? In what way is it a technology, and what would that mean? Project 2 is a rhetorical analysis of a Facebook page. So you'll find a Facebook page, a public Facebook page of a company, a politician, a public figure, a musician, an organization, and conduct a rhetorical analysis on it. So, what is a rhetorical analysis? What do I mean by rhetoric? There's not a short answer to that question. We'll talk about that throughout the semester, but rhetoric roughly is, the theory of persuasion. It's also the practice of persuasion. But for Aristotle, it was the faculty of observing in any given case the available means of persuasion. So when you look at a Facebook page, you ask, a couple of questions. What is it trying to make you think or believe or feel? That's a rhetorical question. What is the page trying to get you to do? Does it want you to click on something? Is it designed in such a way to change your opinion about a particular matter? Is it designed in such a way so that you identify with that figure? Right? Imagine, I can think of a really clear example now. I don't know if George W. Bush has a Facebook page right now. He might, but he was often doing these public photo shoots and photo ops where he's like, having a shovel and digging. He's doing some kind of working class activity, right, in his baseball cap. The intent of that is so that the audience identifies with that individual. All politicians do this, right? Many people do this. I'm not picking on George Bush necessarily, right? But this is just my memory. So what the intent of that, though, through one lens in this rhetorical way of thinking about it, is that trying to create this identification with the audience. He is like me. George Bush is like me. He understands me. He knows what it's like to pick up a shovel and dig a hole and wear a baseball cap, right? These are rhetorical kind of questions. So, you do this rhetorical analysis of a Facebook page. You ask these questions of what is it trying to get you to do? What is it trying to get you to think or buy or feel? The third project 3, is the application of procedural rhetoric. That'll make a lot more sense later in the course when we read about procedural rhetoric. But roughly, procedural rhetoric is a theory of rhetoric that Ian Bogost put forward that states that processes can make arguments. Procedures can be argumentative. That's a whole wormhole. I'm not going to explain that right now. We're going to get to that later. Project 4 is a short instructional article. That's where you'll pick one of these platforms, social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and you'll write a short article in which you do a 10-step, here's how to create an advertisement in one of these platforms. So it's a great exercise because you'll have to experiment. You'll have to learn how to do this. And it's relatively simple. That's one of the more horrifying things about social media advertising, or maybe liberating too, is that really almost anyone can create an advertisement in these platforms. It's very simple, and there's tons of data for you to use to hyper target your advertisements to particular individuals with particular educational background, income, interests, online behaviors, etc. That's why, really, right there is evidence of why this is fundamentally a rhetorical practice. You're attempting to tailor your communication, your advertising to hyper-specific audiences, right? An audience is such a fundamental question, a fundamental idea in rhetoric. The final project is a short memo. You'll do some job searching. You're going to go on Indeed.com or any job aggregation website, and you're going to look for the types of openings that are available right now. Digital marketing, digital media, social media manager, social media coordinator. What's out there? And you'll take some of your findings and write a memo in which you summarize what are some of the patterns you see, what types of skills are they looking for, and then how might you prepare yourself for a career in that field. Then there's this fairly simple final exam. The response is already, or rather the prompt is already posted. You can see that in the major assignment description sheet in the week 1 module. Well, I could keep going. I want to keep this under 20 minutes, so that's enough to get you started. Log into Canvas, read the syllabus, weekly discussion board, short syllabus quiz. We'll meet every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Oh, and then finally, this is new, something I'm trying out this semester. Every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central, and this is optional, but every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central, we're going to have what I'm calling the Digital and Technical Writing Lounge. So it's an informal Zoom chat where all my classes can meet together in the same meeting room, and it's kind of like fun office hours. I don't know, less formal office hours with all my classes can join, so you can just come in and say hi, if you're, lonely or need to connect with somebody, if you need help on an assignment, if you're stuck on some kind of technological issue and you just want to ask a question about how do I fix, my formatting or something like that, you can ask questions like that. We can talk about current events related to social media because there are many. We won't always be able to talk about that in class, but there's been monumental things happening. Our president just got banned from Twitter, I think, indefinitely. That's something interesting to talk about that we won't always have time to talk about in class because we'll be focusing on readings and so on. So I think I really encourage you to come to those Thursday informal, optional Zoom meetings, kind of writing lounge, where students from my technical writing and digital writing classes can get together and ask questions, hang out, get help on assignments. That's every Thursday at 4 p.m. just for an hour. Then I need to go have dinner and do those sorts of things. But glad you're here. Thanks for being here. If you need me, the best way to get me is via email or I don't know how else you would reach me. You can message me in Canvas. That just gets forwarded to my email, but it's better if you just email me. Sometimes the Canvas forwarding is a little unusual. So just email me if you need me. Make sure it's really clear in your subject line, writing WRIT 409-001, so I know that which class you're in. And make sure you write a really nice email with a salutation and an explanation of what you need and all of that, because I do get a lot of emails. But okay, under 20 minutes. Thanks everybody, glad you're here. It's going to be a good semester. It's a little bit of a challenging course, but I think it's reasonably paced and it's should be insightful and interesting and useful and new and innovative. So stick with it and hang in there with me, okay? I'll see you soon.